Guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. We're going to be looking at the latest cart from Evercade, and this is Jaleco Arcade 1. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, we have Jaleco Arcade 1, which comes complete with 8 games. We already have a Jaleco collection on the Evercade, but it's a console collection. We've got 8 games. We've got 64 Street, A Detective Story, Avenging Spirit, SciBattler, EDF, Earth Defense Force, P47, The Phantom Fighter, Rodland, Saint Dragon and Astyanax. A very interesting collection of games there, and seems quite a good bit of variety. Now let's have a quick look at what's inside the box. We've got your cart obviously, and you've got a few cards here. They're actually cards rather than paper. I guess they're like kind of a posters, or mini posters so to speak. Sort of Rodland and Saint Dragon. Nice addition I guess, but for me I don't really see the point. I'm not going to do anything with them, but nice to add them. I guess someone will enjoy them. So let's have a look at the manual. Okay guys, just a little bit about Jaleco. 1982 they were known as Japan Leisure Corporation, which is obviously shortened to Jaleco. Best known for the arcade and home console titles that released in the 80s and 90s. There's certainly a massive collection of games out there. This is Rodland, which I remember playing the C64. It's a fantastic little game, and there's a little tip there that you should probably take note of, that there's 2 games actually in one. On the title screen, insert credit, push down 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 and start to play the second quest after you've completed the first one. Don't forget to do that. So that's pretty much a bonus game I guess, which was included within the arcade cabinet itself. And there's a little bit how to actually play the game. And nice that they've got extra pages for probably the best game, or one of the best games. Got Saint Dragon, which is a shoot 'em up, quite interesting game. EDF, another sort of side-scrolling shoot 'em up. Obviously, if you love shoot 'em ups, this cart is going to be for you. You've got SciBattler, which is probably one of the less recognised titles from Jaleco, but doesn't mean it's not good. Got Avenging Spirit. This is obviously a kind of a platform style game, sort of different from the other games on this cart, which is nice. Definitely adds a little bit of variety. So obviously as part of this you actually can play as a ghost, and you can play as other characters within the game. Very interesting indeed. Oh, and we got a side-scrolling beat 'em up, which is 64 Street, A Detective Story, which actually looks really good. P47, The Phantom Fighter. It's another side-scrolling shooter. Astyanax, we got this. We obviously got the NES version on the original Jaleco console collection, but this game is very, very different. They are completely different games. They might as well be called a completely different name, to be honest. And that's it. So let's hook it on to the handheld first, then we'll put it on to the VS. Okay guys, this is EDF, but something I'm just sort of booting this up to pinpoint something to Blaze if they are watching. On the controls, on the handheld, there is no information to what the controls actually do. Something that's missing. Just thought I'd pinpoint that, so you can actually fix it in a future firmware update. Anyway, okay, this is Rodland, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, I played this on the C64, and it was also fantastic there. And it's exactly the same, basically. It's so good. Such a fun little single screen platformer game, great fun to play, and you can also play this as a 2-player game as well, obviously if you have the VS, which is good fun. Anyway guys, let's put this up to the VS, we'll go through all the games, give you my thoughts and what the games are actually like. Okay guys, going to start with 64 Street, A Detective Story, which is obviously a side-scrolling beat 'em up. And it's actually a very good one. There's 2 playable characters that you can actually go, and it's the usual story. Someone's daughter has been kidnapped and you need to investigate and probably save her. Yeah, it's the usual stuff, but you've got basic moves, kick, jump kind of thing, and press them both together for your special move. Okay, so it's pretty standard fare, this beat 'em up, but probably the best part of the game is being able to actually throw your opponents into the scenery, which is kind of quite funny. I don't really remember playing many games that let you actually do that, and it's pretty standard fare. Obviously, you've got weapons you can use, you've got your usual punch, kick and special moves, and obviously tons of enemies that basically just keep on coming. Obviously this game seems to have a massive collection of twins and triplets because you see the same character all the time. I'm only assuming they must be related. But I have to say this game is actually really good. It's probably one of the best beat 'em ups I've played on the Evercade. It's very good. Very addictive. I love my beat 'em ups, I love my final fights and Streets of Rage and all that kind of thing, and this is definitely very close to being as good as them. I'm not saying it's better than them, but it is a very good example of a beat 'em up, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's a really good start to this cart, that's for sure. Okay, so if I've got one pick for this game, it's probably the sound effects, especially of the guys when they get hit, and they just make some really odd noises. They just don't sound like human noises that they're actually making. Just doesn't sound right to me. That's my only pick of this game. It's obviously a little bit petty, I guess, but it just sounds a bit odd. Like all good beat 'em ups, every level ends with a boss. This one just happens to have an absolutely huge mallet that, you know, who doesn't have one of them? This guy's a bit of a pain, to be honest. I found the best way is probably to do a kind of jump kick to probably beat him rather than trying to get close to him, because you just have no chance every single time. Okay guys, moving on to Avenging Spirit, which is a very interesting platform action game, and you play a ghost which you can actually possess any of the enemy characters in the game, which makes the game pretty different every time you probably play it. I think the ultimate goal is you're trying to find some keys to rescue someone's girlfriend. Yeah, sounds very familiar stuff, doesn't it? But this game is very interesting and quite different to anything I've probably played any time recently. Okay, so we're going to start with the actual story at the beginning here, which is the usual fare. There's this crazy looking fellow. Would you really help this guy? I don't think you would, but anyway, he looks like he's summoned a ghost or something. I don't know, it doesn't really explain. To rescue his daughter that's been kidnapped for some reason and held for ransom for information about something. And your choices here, you get to possess one of these four characters for some reason. I've just chose the one with the gun because that made most sense to me to start the game. And then throughout the game, if you can see your energy runs out, you can then possess any of the other characters that you see on screen, which is actually quite interesting. The characters do tend to stand about and have a little bit of robotic sort of natures to them, but it's a fun little platform game. It really is quite different and very interesting to play. this point of the game you find a map that tells you need to find 3 keys to unlock the room where the girlfriend is being held captive. So apparently if you don't actually find those 3 keys you will get a bad ending, so it might be a good idea to create a few save states just in case you need to go back again. But you can see here you can actually possess quite a lot of different characters and it changes the game style quite dramatically. Obviously this character has no weapons, so it probably makes it a little bit more difficult, especially with all these characters with guns. But later in the game I possessed a character that could throw grenades, and it actually made the end of level boss here a heck of a lot easier to do and finished it in basically seconds. Whereas if you didn't have that character and you had maybe the punch and kick, it would have probably been a bit of a nightmare. But I have to say this game is really good fun to play. Slightly different to anything else I've really played out there, and I love it. It's very good. I'll certainly be playing this one to a finish. It's an excellent little game. Okay guys, we move to SciBattler, which is the first shoot 'em up on the cart. It's a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, and this one is going to be perfect for the Evercade EXP when it actually gets released, because you'll be able to use that tate function, which is perfect for these style of games. You'll see once we start playing, obviously, with the small screen. But this one is kind of surprisingly really good. Never heard of it before, I only played it recently. You can see you've got that small screen, which is going to be absolutely perfect for the EXP tate mode. So really looking forward to trying it on that. It's obviously not ideal playing on the current handheld because it really is pretty small screen. You can obviously stretch it, but it's going to look horrendous. So for me, playing it on the VS is probably the only way to go at present. So as you can probably tell from the gameplay, this game is absolutely manic crazy. As long as you hold the fire button down, you will always shoot in that direction. But as soon as you take your finger off the fire button, you can then move the character around about. You can then shoot in a different direction. You've also got a close encounter sort of blade, which you can use to sort of swipe the enemies as well. So don't forget that, it's quite important, especially when you see some of these rocks coming into play. But yeah, you shouldn't obviously hold down the button too long, because I think it does affect your firepower apparently. Not really worked out some of that yet, but it's an absolutely crazy game. It's such fun to play. I usually don't like these style of games, but this game it's really addictive, quite good fun. There's a lot happening on the screen. The graphics are really fantastic, but yeah, it doesn't really suit playing on the current handheld. And yeah, I think we really need that tate mode on the Evercade EXP. Can't really wait for that. And yep, there's always the end of level bosses, which makes things a little bit tricky, and this one is particularly hard. And one of the things I didn't like is that once you get defeated and you lose your life, you tend to get sent back a little bit further rather than putting your coin in, inserting and continue from where you left off or where you died. Just a little bit of a nitpick, I guess, but otherwise this is a fantastic game. Really recommended. Okay guys, on to the second shoot 'em up, which is EDF, or otherwise known as Earth Defense Force. This one is also on the original cartridge, but it's the NES version, which I personally didn't really like because it was far too hard. But there is a bit of a mistake here which I want to highlight to Blaze. There's no controls mentioned in the control layout, so if you get a minute, please maybe update that for us. But yeah, this is Earth Defense Force. It's a horizontal scrolling shoot 'em up. And I actually preferred this one. It's obviously you can add coins and just keep continuing playing, so the frustration does come out of it a little bit compared to the NES version. But it does make a massive difference at the start here which weapon you choose to start the game with. You've got a choice of 4, and I kind of went with the homing missiles, which made it a little bit easier without you having to aim. It just homed in and wherever the enemies were, and it definitely made a bit of a difference to me, and I started to enjoy the game. And it's a really good game. You obviously get 3 hits here rather than a one-hit kill style game, which I really hate in shoot 'em ups. You've got 3 hits before you actually die. And it does make a bit of a difference. It's very colourful, it's quite fast going, there's a lot happening on the screen. I actually quite enjoyed that one. It's obviously that's a bit of a shocker, but I actually really like this one, and I'll most likely probably play this again. The bosses are quite hard and they take forever to actually die, but it's still a good challenge, I really like it. Okay guys, so here we have our third shoot 'em up on the cart. Those guys at Blaze certainly love their shoot 'em ups. P47, the Phantom Fighter. It's another horizontal sort of World War 1 or 2 style sort of shoot 'em up. This one's quite good, but it is very hard. But thankfully again we've got those sort of virtual infinite coins that you can insert all the time and just keep continuing. So it's not really a big problem, but it's definitely a lot harder than the other 2 games there. I quite like it right enough. It's probably my least favourite out of the 3 shoot 'em ups on this cart, but it is still a really decent game. It is quite addictive. Unfortunately it's that one hit kill sort of scenario which I really sort of don't like in these games, but it's a nice looking game. It's quite cool. The graphic style is very nice. It does give you that sort of war sort of vibe. You can obviously shoot bombs down below. You need to sort of collect them, as you see here in the sky, and you can obviously use your horizontal shooting powers to take out the enemies in the sky. It's good, it's very well done, it's great, but wow, you can see here it's super hard. I can imagine spending a fortune on this in the arcade if you loved this game, because you would die frequently. Okay guys, it's the signature game on the cart, it's Rodland. This is the one I've probably heard of the most and played back in the day on the Commodore 64. It's an absolutely cracking platform single screen game. You can actually play it simultaneously with another player at the same time. And don't forget this little hint here about playing the sequel, so to speak, that's built into the arcade game once you've maybe finished the main game. Now again, it's a kidnapping that's happened. Their mum has been kidnapped and you need to obviously go through the stages, reach the top of the tower and save her. This cart probably should be known as the kidnapped cart because that's the theme that seems to be happening. But anyway, this is a fantastic little game. Single screen, yeah, you've got your sort of rod that you can take out the enemies by keep pressing the button. It'll sort of whap them left and right before they actually die. You can obviously create your own ladders to go up and down the screen. You can collect the flowers, which will then create the extra bonus part of the game where you can sort of collect the letters extra and get an extra life. And there's obviously bombs and stuff and other things that are on here. There are end of level bosses as well. But what an absolute cracking little game. And this was on pretty much every format back in the day, so most people probably should have heard of this one, and I think it's absolutely fantastic and chuffed to bits that it's on the Evercade. I love playing this on the handheld, it really plays fantastically well. Okay, it's the final shoot 'em up on this collection. It's Saint Dragon, which a lot of people will remember from back in the day on all the different formats such as Amiga, Spectrum, Commodore 64. It was pretty much on everything. And it's actually a really decent game. Personally, I think I prefer the Amiga version only because it's slightly easier. This is such a classic game though, it's really good. I just wished I was actually better at it. Okay, so this one is an excellent game, no doubt about it. It's very, very hard though, and for me I get a little bit frustrated sometimes playing it. I just wish you didn't get sent back quite a distance after you die rather than just continuing from where you actually left off. Okay guys, so here we have the last game, the Astronauts, which is obviously the arcade version. We already have the NES version on the original collection, which is nothing like this game at all. Both are hack and slash platform action games, but for me this game is a vast improvement over that. I think the NES version is really awful, to be honest, but this is much more playable, much more enjoyable to play. It's not an amazing game, but it's still a decent enough game. Okay guys, as you can see, it's a fairly straightforward hack and slash game, and the one thing I don't like is the constant respawning of the enemies. They just keep on coming. I think the NES version was much worse, to be honest. At least this one is actually playable and actually quite enjoyable to an extent, and each of these levels do have an end of level guardian that you need to defeat to make progress. I actually quite like it. It does get just a little bit repetitive, to be honest, because there's a little bit of lack of variety in the moves. You have a special move as well that you can utilise, but it's good fun to play. I guess you'll maybe play through this once and then maybe not go back to it, but it's a decent enough game in its own right. Okay guys, it's that time of the video. I'm going to sort of summarise this cart, and for me this cart is absolutely fantastic. There's 8 really decent games on that. There's some really excellent games here as well, and it's a really good collection that they've put together, to be honest. It's definitely much better than the console cart that we have. This might even be one of the best arcade carts that have been released yet. It's absolutely fantastic. It'll be really good to play SciBattler, I think, as on the tape mode on the Evercade EXP when it gets released as well. There's probably too many shooters on this one for me, but there's a good bit of variety as well. You've got a sort of beat 'em up, you've got a couple of platformers. I really like it. It's a good cart. I would highly recommend this to anyone sort of starting their Evercade collection. It's definitely a good place to start, especially if you're into your arcade games. Guys, thank you very much for watching the video today. Please like, subscribe, and we'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now. Don't you give up,